Man, WWE is really going over the top. Let's talk about NXT from October the 3rd, 2023. Let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. WWE decided, because Dynamite is going to air next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and it will feature the in-ring debut in AEW of Edge, aka Adam Copeland. So WWE has decided that since Tony Khan wanted to do that they were going to take NXT and fill it with buckshot and decide that they're going to kick Dynamite's shit in next week by featuring Cody Rhodes, John Cena, and Paul Heyman, and Asuka. They have decided that they're going to try to nuke Dynamite from orbit. And it's funny. It's hilarious, bro. It's absolutely hilarious, bro. Hey, I never in my life, dog. This is straight up something out of the territories. Like, you want to run opposite me. I'm going to call all my NWA buddies and we're going to load up on you. All of a sudden, Luthez is in town. You're like, wait a minute. Where Luthez come from? He's supposed to be in Albuquerque. And now all of a sudden he's in my little tiny arena, stealing my fans. It's all is fair in love and war, I don't necessarily like the hot shotting of we're going to bring in Cody and Cena and Heyman and Asuka. And it's a bit much, But Dynamite wanted to play. They are the ones who keep saying that it's a war and both sides hate each other and all this kind of stuff. Edge tried to simmer things down by saying, oh, don't be a fan of acronyms. Be a fan of pro wrestling. But my real issue with this, really, is that it's mutating NXT. And I don't like that. I don't like that element. That we're going to sell NXT not on the talent that is on NXT, but we're going to bring in all these other outsiders. Now, I know the AEW fans, they're really pitching a bitch right now. They're acting up. All right. They're very upset. But that's not even the important. To me, I like NXT. I don't need Cody on this show. I don't need John Cena on this show. I wasn't going to watch Dynamite over NXT anyway. Even when they were head to head, before I always watched NXT and then watch Dynamite, unless Dynamite had something really, really good on it and NXT sucked, or, it just wasn't clicking, I would watch Dynamite, but that was very, very rare. I almost always watched NXT. I was going to watch NXT anyway. But now they decided to do this. And here's the thing that made me laugh so hard about it. They bringing Cody in for no reason. Cody is coming in for he got a big announcement. That's what he's coming for, to make a big announcement. And none of this makes any sense. They tried to book it in terms of storyline, but most of it doesn't make any sense. So Carmelo Hayes, who's teasing being a heel, got a phone call from John Cena telling him never give up. Dun, 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 and saying that to make sure he never gives up and that he picks himself up after his loss, Cena is going to be in his corner in this match with Brian Breaker, because they set up a match between Brian Breaker and Carmelo Hayes based off of some real stuff. The real reason that they're going to have a match is perfectly fine with me. I'm okay with that. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And then at the end of the show, Paul Heyman says, well, John Cena's been getting in bloodline business, so the bloodline is going to get in John Cena's business. So I am going to be in Brian Breaker's corner. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Huh. Okay. All right. Sure, let's go for it. Here's the one that really doesn't make any sense. Kiana James, who is a full-blown heel, is using Asuka as a mercenary to fight her battles for her. Or if you want to fight me, you have to beat Asuka first. Why would Asuka agree to that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just chaos, all right? It's chaos. It's hot shot booking. None of this stuff matters, really. Something big is going to happen, clearly, because they got Cena on the show and Heyman and Cody. it's so over the top. It's incredibly over the top. But the Brian Breaker Carmelo Hayes feud is actually, well, the match is built on something legit. You know, Brian Breaker says, I'm the only one who really understands how you feel right now. You know, immediately after Carmelo Hayes lost, the crowd became fans of Ilya Dragunov. They turned their back on you. You know, no more him, no more chanting for you. They turned their back on you. That rage, that frustration you feel, you need to turn that against Trick Williams. And Carmelo Hayes was like, Trick Williams, why, you know? So they kind of got into it. So them building a match based off that, it's fine. But then we're going to throw John Cena and Paul Heyman in it. Like, that's just overkill. You know, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, NXT, poor NXT, they're going to be staring down the barrel of some real problems here in terms of Edge's first match in AEW. Is going to be right across the street from NXT. And I said, well, I figured it was going to do something. Then I heard that Asuka was going to be on the show, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't make sense that she would be on this show, but okay, I'll accept it. Whatever you say. And then I heard John Cena was going to be on this show, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. They're putting on brass knuckles for this situation, you know? And then, you know, they put in the mouth guard. Now they're wearing brass knuckles. Then they decided, oh, Cody's going to be in the house for no reason, right? So they're wearing a suit of armor in the UFC at this point. They might as well be wearing football pads in the octagon, all right? They're not playing around. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Here's an interesting thing. Let's take it to the next level. Recently, WrestleNomics, they did a breakdown of Collision, AEW Collision, recently. And here's what Brandon Thurston said. To whatever extent WWE and AEW have different audiences, the effect of WWE main roster PLEs and even NXT PLEs on Collision is clearly greater than the effect of college football with an audience many times larger. Tuesday, October 10th, NXT and Dynamite go head-to-head when Dynamite is bumped out of its normal slot for MLB playoffs. He says, last year they went to head-to-head on Tuesday, October the 18th. Dynamite decisively won 752 to 676, depending on what's on each show, and if NXT is loaded with main roster talent doing something important, it's not a lot Dynamite will win again. NXT's demo was up 39% in Q3. Total was up 8%, while Dynamite was down 11% and 9%. Dynamite still averages a larger audience in both, but will be disadvantaged by being preempted, while NXT will be in its normal time slot. But that's not even... I found that tweet as I was looking for the tweet I was really trying to read. But it says a lot, because he actually did a breakdown, too, of how much NXT No Mercy affected Collision. And so let's get into that. So AEW Collision on Saturday drew 327,000 viewers. On October, was this September 30th? 327,000 viewers. A new low for Collision in both total viewership and the P18 to 49. Collision went against NXT No Mercy on Peacock, and it has each week since early September college football competition. Then he continues, this was the first NXT PLE that went head-to-head with AEW Collision. The previous one on July 30th was on a Sunday. Deadline, December 9th, is also on a Saturday. If this is the normal effect, and NXT PLEs every other month, as well as monthly WWE main roster PLEs, continue to be on Saturdays, an open question, given TKO probably wants to coordinate WWE and UFC, UFC will probably get priority on for Saturday nights. There is an additional recurring year-round effect for Collision ratings, independent of seasonal sports competition. There is some relief with WWE's international PLEs running out of prime time, but Money in the Bank running earlier in the day and pacifying wrestling viewers might have had something to do with the lower than surrounding week's Collision rating on July the 1st. So, as he's saying here, that NXT's PLE, the No Mercy show, wrecked Collision. And there is fear that the same thing is about to happen again. So with them bringing Cody and Cena and Heyman and Asuka and whoever else is going to show up. Becky Lynch is going to be on the show too because she's the NXT Women's Champion, so she's definitely going to be there. Who knows if Dominic Mysterio is going to be there or not? Spoiler. But we've seen that Dominic Mysterio draws an audience on NXT. We've seen that Becky Lynch draws an audience on NXT. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that NXT is going to kick Dynamite shit in next week. And it's uncalled for. You know, like, you really don't need to do that much, you know, for one episode of NXT. It's not really even called for, you know. Why mutate my NXT like this? Now, while I'm laughing, I'm secretly inside crying because I'm like, there's so many talented people who are not going to get an opportunity because Triple H wants to beat Tony Khan and embarrass Tony Khan on this one night. I'm not saying I want Tony Khan to win because man, that would be unbearable if they actually still managed to win, even with WWE throwing John Cena on the show. But I feel pretty comfortable saying that they about to make Dynamite. They about to put him on a colostomy bag, dog. Oh my goodness. It's unfortunate. I want my NXT back. I don't care if it's only 600,000 viewers. Let's get this shit out of the way. Let's get all these people who don't belong in NXT out of NXT so I can get back to enjoying NXT. All right. I liked what we were doing here. I've been enjoying that. We don't need Cody. You know, we don't need Cena. It's nice to see them on the shows that they're on. I watched this show so I could see Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes and Dragunov and, you know, some of the other people that I enjoy watching. You know, I don't want my NXT mutated because, you know, Triple H don't want to be embarrassed by having NXT lose to Dynamite again. It's uncalled for. You already got main roster talent like Dominic Mysterio and Becky Lynch showing up. Why the hell do we need to go this far? You know, but it's hilarious to me, bro. I was cackling. All right. When I saw John Cena, I was like, boy, oh boy. When I saw Cody, I damn near melted in my chair. And when Paul Heyman said he was going to be there, I was like, brother. Because I thought they was going to bring Roman Reigns. And I was like, please don't do that. Please, come on. There's no reason for him to show up to the Performance Center. There's just no reason for him to get out of bed to come to this show. You know? But that means it probably will have Jimmy and Solo will probably show up. Man, it's just so much happening. I know this is very exciting for some people who are like, oh, it reminds me of WCW. For me, because I know this is not a permanent thing, there's no stories to be had here. It's all hot-shotting. I hate hot-shotting. I hate it. Because it's only going to lead to Tony Khan trying to hot-shot. Moxley's going to bleed 2 hours on that show. Danielson's going to be on the show, damn near killing himself, breaking every bone in his arm and wrist and neck and knee. You know, MJF's probably going to wrestle for an hour on that show. It's going to be ridiculous what they're going to try to do to load up Dynamite. They might even call CM Punk to come back. You know? They might do something. But I think NXT tipped their hand by, you know, saying that we're going to announcing all of this stuff tonight. Because now you've given Tony Khan a couple more days to come up with some good ideas, you know? And stuff that could actually happen within the body of the stories that he's telling. So tomorrow morning, when Tony Khan wakes up, he's going to have an opportunity to freak out, which he probably will. And then he's got to run a Dynamite, and then a Rampage, and then a Collision. But he's still got an opportunity to spend some money that he probably doesn't want to spend and increase this Dynamite. But I think it's an anniversary. Matter of fact, it's a special episode of Dynamite. It's called Title Tuesday. So it's going to be like championships on the line. So I could see title matches being there. Okay. But NXT, I don't want NXT to be used like this. I don't like that. You know, I don't like the NXT to be used this way. But it's funny. It's humorous. And I'm not going to stop laughing at it. So, but I don't consider it to be a victory lap if they do win. You know, I'm still going to leave the opportunity that Dynamite could still win. I wouldn't see it as a victory lap because it's not NXT. It's some kind of mutant version. It's like taking steroids and winning the fight because you was on steroids. It's like, yeah, you won, but you was on a performance enhancing drug. You're not really all that talented. It's like, okay, did people really care about NXT, or did they care because you dumped all these other people on it? It's because you dumped all these other people on it. I mean, let's just be honest. And I like NXT, so. We also have to take into account that NXT is in a contract year. Their contract with USA Network is going to be up soon. We're fairly sure that they're going to be leaving USA. So there's some conversation that need to be had about that. That's not just lip service either, because it's pretty clear that they've been trying to bump up NXT's ratings and have been doing so by having Dominic Mysterio or Becky Lynch and the various other people pop up on this show because they want to prove that NXT still has some value, and they've been using the main roster talent to do that. And I still think it's a negative on NXT. The brand needs to be able to rise and fall on its own. Just like Raw and SmackDown. I don't think NXT should be a third brand. It's stupid to me. You need a developmental program. You need somewhere for young people to actually be able to learn. And not just have washouts from Raw and SmackDown. Well, you don't got nothing for them to do. Just throw them on NXT. No, that's not how this thing works. You know, you can have some people down there, a couple, but you can't load it up with Cena and Cody and all this kind. You can't do that. That's taking a lot of time from the talent. There's going to be a lot of people. Now, it gives you the opportunity to, I suppose, hey, we get to show our best talents, who are, Brian Breaker and Carmelo Hayes, and maybe a Dragunov will be on there, and a couple of other girls will be there. But for the most part, there's going to be a lot of talent who are not going to be seen, who the audience might like, and who the audience might support, because, well, the guys from Raw and SmackDown are going to be here this week. Come on, man. It's the long term when it comes to NXT is it needs to be its own brand, even if it needs to go back behind the paywall and be a regular like main event where it's not on TV, but it's somewhere out in the ether. Then I'm fine with that. As long as it stays kind of how it is now, it doesn't go back to the black and gold funny business that they were doing before, then I'm fine with that. I don't care if NXT gets kicked off of USA Network, but WWE does. And I hear that they're trying to sell NXT as a package with Raw. I think it makes NXT more attractive to do it that way. If NXT is going to get booted off of USA Network, and that's already been decided, then loading up the shows is not going to make a goddamn difference anyway. So I don't buy in. I understand it's a contract year. I get that. But if USA Network has already made up their mind they don't want NXT, then what bringing John Cena and Cody to the show is going to do? It's not going to change their mind because they've already made a decision. But if it might change their mind, then how could they base their decision off of, oh yeah, you was able to get your ratings up? It took you to bring Cody and John Cena on the show. Are you going to keep bringing them on the show? No, we're not. So it's not really going to do you any good either way. Either way, it's a dull blade. You're not going to be there every week. And then if you have already made the decision that you're not going to host a show, then it doesn't matter what the ratings do anyway. This is all about kicking Dynamite's shit in. That's what this is about. This is about when Dynamite was running head to head. They were doing surprises and announcements every week, kicking NXT in the ass. And now NXT has the opportunity, because they're on the upswing and Dynamite's on the downswing, to absolutely put a fully loaded shotgun to Dynamite's head. They're going to pull the trigger and never miss an opportunity to kick your opponent while they're down. You've already gotten you're already in the squash match, but you're going to hit him in the nuts anyway. So that's what it seems like to me, because yes, they're in a contract year, but it seems to me that the contract has already been figured out. Either they're going to be gone, which they probably already know. If they're going to be gone already, then this is not going to matter. And if they're going to stay, then it's not going to matter because they made the decision to keep them, even without John Cena and Cody coming onto the show. So I don't look at it from that perspective. I understand that's one way of looking at this. I understand that that's one way of analyzing this. But decisions are not going to be made off of one episode of NXT. Nobody's going to look and say one episode of NXT was really, really high in terms of ratings, and therefore we're going to keep the show. No, ratings are over time. Ad revenues are very important. The money that you're asking for to keep the program is very important. All that stuff matters. And if WWE is asking for more money than USA is willing to spend on NXT, it doesn't matter what the fuck they do in the ratings. They don't want to pay for it. So I look at it from that perspective. I understand that perspective, but it doesn't make a difference. Plus, I like NXT. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to become a regular occurrence, which I know it's not. It's a one-time deal. But I don't like it because it does mutate with NXT, and it doesn't really showcase NXT. That's what this should be about. If you really want prolonged success, you should want to showcase your talent on NXT. Let the talent drive the show. Not, we're just going to dump a bunch of people who are already over on the show. Get somebody over on the show. How about that? But they have the opportunity. So they're trying to do that by what they're doing on NXT. So let's get into the regular show. Enough about this. Becky Lynch started the show. I'm going to truncate this because this took forever and I hated it. Everybody came out. I'll put Eva Valkyrie because that was her name for NXT UK. That was a mistake. Her name is Lyra Valkyria. She came out to blow some smoke up Becky Lynch's ass about what she's done for Irish wrestling. Real fangirl stuff. Not, I'm here to be a contender, but I'm a mark. I'm a mark for you and all that kind of crap, which didn't make her sound cool. And it's very unfortunate. Then Indy Hartwell came out there, bored everybody to death. That giraffe. She is so stiff, and she looks like she's going to fall over at any time. And then Roxanne Perez came out to a chorus of boos. The people don't like Roxanne Perez anymore. Roxanne Perez says that she's tired of sitting back and resting. She wants to get involved. So Becky Lynch suggested that the three of them entertain her and have a triple threat match, number one contender. The winner will face her at day one or week one of NXT Halloween Havoc because it's a 2-week event. Then she went to the back and she was on commentary for the triple threat match that Lyra Valkyria won. Now, Lyra Valkyria won because Roxanne Perez hit her finisher, the Pop Rocks, on Indy Hartwell. At which point, Kiana James snatched Roxanne Perez from the ring, punched Roxanne Perez. Becky Lynch got out of her seat and decked Kiana James. But all this confusion, Lyra Valkyria hit a terrible frog splash and got the win. So Lyra Valkyria will be wrestling Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship at Halloween Havoc. Of course, Tegan Nox came out and she and Becky started yelling at each other because Tegan Nox has to wrestle Becky on Monday. So basically, they're overlooking Tegan Nox. That's what she's upset about. And Lyra Valkyria getting the rub again. She got to wrestle Rhea Ripley when Rhea Ripley was there. Now she's going to get to wrestle Becky Lynch. They're doing everything with her except putting the belt on her. I don't think she's going to win the title. But look, I like Lyra Valkyria. I just think that they destroyed her character. She was quiet and mysterious and, dangerous and all that kind of stuff when she was in NXT UK. Even when most of her run in NXT, she was, the quiet, mysterious, hyper competent warrior. And then she became a fangirl out of nowhere. First she was fangirling for Rhea Ripley, who believed in her and all that kind of stuff. Now she's fangirling for Becky Lynch. It's like, not hell no. This sucks. If she's going to be on this show and she's going to be a formidable, fighter or whatever, she definitely needs to have her own voice, her own presentation. My thing is she felt more special when she was the one who didn't talk as much, when she was terse and she went out there and had really good matches and, her character didn't need to speak as much. I think she was better then than she is now. She's still a really good wrestler, but I'm usually one to say promos elevate, But sometimes, when the content of the promos are like the content of Lyra Valkyria's promos, they don't make her feel very good. The crowd not liking Roxanne Perez. It's about time they caught up with her boring ass. She's boring. Oh, why is everybody feeling so bad? They hate Roxanne Perez. Why? Because she's boring. She's boring. And she's always in the title picture. She's boring. People were happy Kiana James screwed her out of that match. So Kiana James was the one who said that if Roxanne Perez had a problem, she got to go through Asuka first. But her reasoning for screwing Roxanne Perez actually was not bad. It was talking about the Breakout tournament, and that Roxanne Perez won the Breakout tournament, ended up becoming NXT Women's Champion. It says that they debuted at the same time. That Kiana James debuted around that same time, and they're both former tag team champions. It's about time for people to see Kiana James on the same level as Roxanne Perez. And I thought that was very interesting, because people being just plain jealous is usually a good enough excuse to do just about anything. Jealousy explains a lot. Jealousy is envy is a cardinal sin for a reason, right? There's a difference between jealousy and envy, but fundamentally it's the same thing. It is, you being upset about what other people have. And it would have worked a little bit better, I think, if they hadn't booed Roxanne Perez earlier. This thing might have worked a little bit better. But Kiana James seeing Roxanne Perez as somebody who keeps getting opportunities, and she doesn't get them, despite the fact that they've been there around the same time. They have I guess you're supposed to believe they have the same level of experience. They don't. Roxanne Perez was an indie wrestler before she came in. Kiana James, I think, was too. She might actually be a little bit older than Roxanne Perez. So it's just plain jealousy, but it's fun. Lyra Valkyria, it's fine. Asuka versus Roxanne Perez, okay, fine, whatever. All right, first match on the show, Butch and Tyler Bates defeat Gallus. Man, if you'd have told me 3 years ago that Wolfgang was still going to be in WWE, I would have told you you're a liar. He just seems very generic, and I wouldn't be. Now, the Coffee Brothers, I could see they're brothers. They're big guys, even though Joe is kind of short. Wolfgang's a big guy, too, but he seems very 1987, mid-world class, mid-level heel. He just comes across as that kind of guy. But it works. This match was too long for my taste. That was my only problem with it. British Strong Style, or Tyler Bate and Butch, they won the match. Afterwards, Gallus jumped all three of them, and then Ridge Holland ran out there to help them, so it was 3-on-3. Brawling Brutes and Tyler Bate, look, they don't turn Tyler Bate heel. That cockeyed half-wit Shawn Michaels is an absolute coward. Next, Ilya Dragunov. He shaved his beard, so he looks less crazy. I like when he looked like, Dracula. Like now he just kind of, he still looks crazy. He still looks like something out of Castlevania, but he looks less crazy. And maybe the beard was a symbol of something, of him being legitimately mad. But now he's very suave. He's very relaxed. He's not as tense. He's having fun, for Christ's sake. He was cracking jokes here. So Dragunov was talking about he still stands as champ, even though he stands in pain. He's going to push the title to the next level as a symbol of unbearable passion. Then Trick Williams came out, thanked Ilya Dragunov for pushing him to the limit. And he's a champion now because of Ilya Dragunov beating him before. Ilya Dragunov said that he was proud of Trick Williams, and at No Mercy, Trick Williams whooped that Trick. And then Dragunov and Trick Williams started dapping, like they were shaking hands. And immediately, Carmelo Hayes come out, and he questioned Trick Williams, like, what's going on here? Said that he's been telling him, for a long time, he's got the heart of a champion. He is the one who's proud of Trick Williams. And winning the title and defending the title are two different things. If you look into follow in my footsteps, you got to be more focused on Dominic. And Trick Williams is like, whoa. What do you mean? I'm ready for Dominic. Then Ilya Dragunov got in Carmelo Hayes' face and said this was a conversation between champions. But, this ain't none of my business, so I'm leaving. He took off. So, Trick Williams and Dominic Mysterio started having an argument. Dominic promised the title to Mommy, so he's going to do it. Carmelo Hayes immediately jumped in and said, look, man, they don't roll alone. Let me have your back. Trick Williams was goaded into saying, no, I want to handle this myself. He was goaded into that by Dominic Mysterio, who kind of tricked him, by saying that, are you still in Carmelo's shadow? And then Trick Williams was like, wait a minute, what? Nah, I'm not in Carmelo's shadow. I'm going to handle this myself. So he told Carmelo, look, I got this. You can leave. I'm good. And he was not good. That was a mistake. So Dominic Mysterio, I was about to say Rey Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio regains the North American title from Trick Williams. What booking decision. This was amazing. Now, look, usually somebody should bitch about a very short title run, but it actually folds very well into the story. So every member of Judgment Day interfered in this match. Everybody. Even JD McDonough, who's not even a real member of Judgment Day. He's like a Judgment Day prospect. All right. Even he interfered. And this was like a slow robbery. It's like the robbery is happening, but it's taking forever to happen. I like these guys. I like this match. But it was pretty clear once every member of Judgment Day has surrounded the ring that Trick Williams was not going to win, and it was all him versus the mountain. It was the man versus the mountain, man versus the elements. It's like when you open up like a Conan the Barbarian book or something like that, and he's surrounded by tigers or pigs or something like that. And you're like, how is he going to get out of this? And then you realize, like, okay, in this situation, he's not getting out of it because he has no. Where's Ilya Dragunov to help him? At least, nobody helped him. Nobody did anything. He just watched the guy get fucked over. So, he get DDT'd on the belt. Money in the Bank briefcase is involved with this. And then, of course, because he can't have eyes everywhere, he gets smashed in the head with the tag team belt by Finn Balor. Frog Splash, 1, 2, 3. Dominic Mysterio regains the North American title. Now, the reason this works is because Trick Williams won the title, but he lost it immediately. So now they can play the game that he wasn't as good a North American champion as Carmelo Hayes, and Carmelo Hayes can play that against him. You always needed me. Look at what happened to you without me. That kind of thing. And it plays into the confidence that Trick Williams had, because he had supreme confidence. He was really feeling good. And then he got a little too overconfident, thought he could beat him by himself, actually was being naive and somewhat believing that Dominic Mysterio was going to fight fair, and ended up getting robbed. He got juxed. That's exactly what this was, This was a juxting. This was an Annie up situation. Boots and jeans in the dark, a bunch of people wearing hoodies. All right, this was very bad for Trick Williams. Dominic Mysterio winning the title back closed the story with him and Rhea Ripley. Of course, it would have been better for the drama if Dominic had lost, but we just still got that toy to play with a little bit later, where you could do a similar thing again, where Dominic loses it. Then he's put under pressure by Rhea Ripley to get it back, but this time he can't. So you can always do that again later. I wouldn't run it quickly, but you can do that. Also, since I'm kind of done talking about this, but there's this piece that kind of needs to be discussed. Apparently, from the internet, or was it Fightful maybe, Mustafa Ali was actually supposed to win the North American title at No Mercy. Can you talk about him and Tegan Knox? Man, what luck. If they didn't have bad luck, they wouldn't have no luck at all. He was finally supposed to win something, and then he got fired literally 3 days before. Like 2 or 3 days before he got fired. That's nuts, man. That's like he was supposed to win Money in the Bank. And then, oh no, we got Brock last minute. So, nope, not for you, buddy. His career is always going to be being this close and yet so far away. You know, it's like being on 4th and goal and and punting every time when it comes to, and you get it. I said it right. 4th and goal and he punts. You know, in that situation, it's very unfortunate, but at least he got his freedom, which is what everybody likes when they leave WWE. My freedom, whatever that means. Let's not go away too far. Ilya Dragunov had a conversation with Baron Corbin. Corbin says he was the last person to beat Ilya Dragunov, which I completely and totally forgot about, and thinks that because of that and beating Braun Breaker, that he is in the next slot to be the number 1 contender. Dragunov doesn't think so, but Corbin is like, look, go take all the pictures you need because I'm going to defeat you and take that belt. And look, Corbin he's a solid enough first opponent for Dragunov. This is like when, CM Punk became the champion and they gave him Bradshaw as a first opponent. That's what it feels like to me. Like not quite, horror movie Kane from Daniel Bryan, but like, yeah. This is like when CM Punk had to wrestle Bradshaw. The third match on the show, Blair Davenport is defeated by Gigi Dolan. The match is, it's okay, I guess. Both of them are playing around with getting chairs. Blair Davenport had the chair. She swung the chair, missed it, and got rolled up and pinned. This match was fine. Gigi Dolan matches are very mid. Blair Davenport is good. Gigi Dolan, she hasn't put it all together yet. Very unfortunate. Still, she's a baddie. Nice booty and everything too. Very nice. Blair Davenport swore to her that this wasn't over, and I see that being the case. I don't think that's going to be it. So the women's breakout tournament, they took time to introduce all of the girls, most of whom I did not pay attention to because I wasn't looking, if we're being honest. I'm hearing them introduce all these girls. I'm like, look, unless they're about to do all of this right now, save it. First match of the tournament, however, was actually very solid. Kelani Jordan versus Izzy Dame. Izzy Dame, I know nothing about because, again, I wasn't looking at the screen when they posted up all of her accolades and everything. I was looking elsewhere. Let's put it like that. Anyway, Izzy Dame is a big girl. She used a lot of power moves. She didn't move awful. She moved okay. Usually that's the problem with bigger people is their movement is not very good. This is usually why if you're a big person who's quick on their feet, like Umaga or in some cases Yokozuna, it is a highly coveted skill is to be able to move and be big. So Izzy Dame, maybe if we see more of her, I would have a better critique of her skill level, but I didn't see any like real deficiencies right now outside of we just have nothing for her. She's a blank slate. We've never seen her before until today. So that needs to be fixed. Give her a character or a storyline or something like that, and let's see how she does. But she was basically generic power girl in this match. And Kelani Jordan did all of her really cool arm drags and acrobatics and ended up winning the match with a split leg moonsault. Very good. Didn't hate it. Didn't hate this at all. Duke Hudson was showing Andre Chase pictures of the new Thea Hale, and Andre Chase didn't want to see it. He ended up bumping into Thea Hale and JC Jane as they prepare for a tag team match against Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez. That was awful, by the way. We'll talk about it in a second. Andre Chase asked Thea Hale if they could be in her corner and just to go to the ring like they used to. And she was like a chaperone. And then JC Jane jumped in and was like, no, we like Chase University, and she wants to do the Chase U chant, and they do that. And then Andre Chase and Duke Hudson was on their corner for the tag team match. Elektra Lopez, fine ass. Let's be honest about it. She ain't got it. In terms of movement, she's so stiff. She is incredibly stiff and unnatural in her movements. I've been watching this girl for about a year now. She's beautiful. Gorgeous girl. But I don't think that she's meant to be a wrestler. Maybe a manager, maybe a female bodyguard or something like that. Like, I could buy Elektra Lopez snuffing you, clotheslining you, knocking you down. But going in there wrestling a whole match, probably not. If you give her a smaller woman for her to protect, like if she was pit with like Zelina Vega, that could work. Like her partnership with Lola Vice works if you put Elektra Lopez outside the ring. She looks great. She could take bumps. I just not sure that she can work a full match. I question, her working full matches. But Thea Hale submits Elektra Lopez with the Kimura, and so they win. Not bad at all. All right. So the last little piece of business we got here is Brian Pillman Jr. So they showed another vignette for Brian Pillman. This time, each time they showed the vignette, they've added a little bits more of information. This time, they added the information of second generation wrestlers. So he's watching Randy Orton on TV. He's watching Dominic Mysterio on TV. And then he turns the TV off. People have very interesting feelings about Brian Pillman Jr. And a lot of the AEW fans absolutely hate this guy. I'm saying they hate him. Interestingly enough, shortly after Edge debuted, I think the next day, USA Network actually announced his signing. You would think they would have done something similar to when his dad signed with NXT. I mean, when his dad signed at WWE, they did a press conference. Maybe they should have done that. If you were going to announce that he was going to be on the show, then you should have just done a press conference. Like, why not? What would have been the reason to not do that? You could have just said they're going to announce the new NXT signing, and then Sean is there, and they do the press conference where he's shaking hands with people and, kind of mocking what his dad said and that kind of stuff. That would have been great. It would have been a nice little homage, especially since you're going to announce it anyway. Like, he still hasn't shown up on the show, but you've announced his signing. So USA Network put out a press release. Brian Pillman Jr. appears in WWE's NXT. Here's why fans should be excited. WWE has signed another world-class talent. Here's why Brian Pillman Jr.'s heritage will propel him into stardom. People are giggling right now. People are very, very, very unmercifully, unbearably mean to this guy over the last couple of days. The rumors are true. Brian Pillman Jr. is the latest pro wrestling prodigy to make the jump to WWE. Following in the footsteps of megastar in the making Jade Cargill, Pillman Jr., who eagle-eyed members of the WWE Universe noticed making a blink and you missed it appearance during the NXT No Mercy on September 30th. It's yet another savvy signing by WWE as they pluck yet another aspiring superstar away from the competition and welcome another world-class athlete to the WWE locker room. Here's why the WWE Universe should be excited for the eventual in-ring debut of Brian Pillman Jr. Who is Brian Pillman Jr.? The video Pillman is shown watching is the above teaser is alluding to his heritage. He is the son of the late great Brian Pillman, one of the most physically talented and unpredictable WWE superstars of all time. To put it simply, the youngster, Pillman is only 30 years old, has WWE superstar DNA running through his veins, whereas many WWE superstars have had children who attempted to follow in their footsteps. They took a little jab at David Flair here. We're not going to do that. David Flair is not good enough for a jab on this channel. None have had the physical tools of Brian Pillman Jr. What? Randy Orton didn't have the tools of Brian Pillman Jr.? Moving on. Possessing arguably even more athletic ability than his father. Somebody has never seen Brian Pillman. Whoever wrote this has never watched Brian Pillman. I guarantee it. He has all the tools necessary to become the next big thing in WWE. The significance of WWE signing him is not lost on the wrestling world. Although Pillman has shown off his rare talent During his time in other promotions, wrestling fans and critics alike always felt he would be better suited in a WWE ring. Polishing his skills in the WWE Performance Center and getting in the ring up against up-and-coming talent in NXT for the foreseeable future will do wonders for his career, eventually setting the stage for a debut on the main roster. Of course, Brian Pillman Jr.'s name is likely one of the reasons WWE took an interest in signing him in the first place. His father tragically died in 1997, but left behind one of the most lasting legacies in wrestling history. Then they go into who is Brian Pillman. It says, we're going to skip that part. Brian Pillman Jr. represents the past, present, and future of wrestling. However, signing a WWE contract with such high expectations for your career cannot always just work out how a wrestler would like. Just because your father was one of the most exciting superstars ever doesn't mean you are automatically granted that same spotlight. It took them forever to say that. Like Jade Cargill, Brian Pillman Jr. has to understand that the WWE represents the major leagues. Take that, AEW. This is the major leagues over here, pimp, says USA Network. The spotlight will never be brighter, but unfortunately it can shine on low points just as much as the highlights. For the WWE Universe, one question remains. Are the late Brian Pillman's shoes too big to fill for his son? Will Brian Pillman Jr. blaze his own trail? Or will the 30-year-old present the world with the best case scenario? A WWE superstar that is the total package, combining the best parts of his father's legacy with his own unique in-ring style. Regardless, Brian Pillman Jr. just gave the world another reason to stay glued to NXT on Tuesday nights, and then he promptly did not show up. Thanks a lot for this. Now, this, of course, was all done to counter the Edge hype. They put out this thing because AEW was hyping Edge. And look, I get what they were trying to do here. Hey, we also took a talent from AEW. They took one from us. We take one from them. It's no big deal. But this is somebody from the lower rungs of AEW that they weren't really doing much with. The guy's 30. It's not like he's 90, but he's older than most Performance Center talents, most of them anyway, but he's in their same age bracket. He's got more experience than a lot of them do. So, but I always have been Pillman is not a bad kid kind of thing. I think that it's all about letting him do what he does and giving him the chance. So many people have said, oh, he's a Nepo baby. It's like, so was Bret Hart. Motherfucker, so was Mr. Perfect. Their dad was in the business too. So was Greg the Hammer Valentine. Nobody ever talks shit about Bret Hart, whose daddy owned the promotion. Nobody cares, bro. Like, oh, he's a Nepo baby. He's a Nepo. It's like, so is Randy Orton. So what? Guys can it's not their fault who their father is. It may help. But for God's sake, there's plenty of people whose dad was somebody in wrestling and they never went anywhere, and never made it. It happens. It happens more often than people are willing to accept. So Pillman has a chance to fail. He has a chance to succeed. I think that the AEW fan base who are just scoffing right now, they haven't seen anything. Then they believe that him being booked in that one feud with MJF, where basically he got to stand still and do nothing while MJF called his mom a crack whore and all this kind of stuff, is indicative of his talent. No, it's not. Maybe if we got a chance to see more of it, we might be able to do a little bit more. But again, I saw him in MLW, so I'm pretty familiar with some of his work there. But here we are. WWE's announcing Brian Pillman Jr. officially, but he didn't show up. So, ought to be interesting. Maybe he'll confront Cody or something. I don't know. Anyway, this was NXT. It was a fun show. They decided they were going to talk a lot on this show, which is fine because they're resetting new storylines. And I wish when they did the women's triple threat, they had thought up more creative women Roxanne Perez, Lyra Valkyria. I mean, why not go with some other women? But whatever. And Indy Hartwell, she sucks. I know a lot of people like Indy Hartwell because she's a likable person. But she reminds me of the Draft from Toys R Us. I can't take her seriously. She's a goofball. Look at her arms and legs. Like, she's built like Gumby. It's not going to work out, okay? It's not going to work out. She might, be like the goofy reporter girl or something like that. And Vince's WWE, she might have a space because she can be a goofy character. But in Triple H's, I don't think she's good enough in the ring to really be warranted a roster spot. But she's still here, so she might as well get better. And sending her back to NXT is a smart move, too, because she wasn't doing shit on Raw. And it doesn't seem like they're in a rush to do anything with her on Raw. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you